him open it up, and then we'll go to some questions.
All right, really hard-fought game. A lot of credit to Ohio State. They played a really disciplined game. You know, 0 turnovers, only 2 penalties. They took advantage of their opportunities when they got them. So credit to them. You know, as far as we go, as we said coming into this game, you know, this game would serve as a really good measuring stick of where we were at, where we needed to improve, and the things that we were good at. You know, and I thought defensively we played a very good football game. It's unfortunate the first touchdown drive they have, we have 2 significant penalties. You know, we have the face mask penalty, and then we have the DPI. The face mask penalty, I believe, was on 3rd down, and that leads to the touchdown. And then, you know, we were offensively early on. I thought our plan was pretty good, you know, and we were playing physical football. Quite frankly, we just didn't quite have rhythm in the passing game yet, but we had a couple opportunities there to move it, and that didn't happen. We finally kind of woke up and started moving the ball, and you know, we don't score from the 1-yard line. We have another opportunity with a 4th and 3, I believe, from the 8 that we don't score on, and then inevitably they hit the long pass, which, you know, we had really minimized the explosive plays, and they hit the long pass. But the one thing I was proud of coming out of this was our fight, our ability to go down and score. I think with 3:28 to go, to get a stop on defense, to get the ball back with an opportunity to go tie the game. And we had a couple chances, and we just didn't quite make the plays we wanted to make. So, you know, this is the first game of a long season. And I sat at SEC Media Days and said, I think the days of a national champion being undefeated are over. Especially when you play in games like this and you play in the conference we play in. So we've got an opportunity here over the next month to really clean some things up and to get ourselves in a great frame of mind to get ready for SEC play. I thought for the most part we handled this environment really well for a first game with a lot of new faces. I was proud of some guys who was their first time in real action, doing some good things for us. But we'll get better. We've got a good football team. That's a good football team we played today. We'll get better, and we'll be okay.
Hey guys, raise your hand. I'll go to you. Start up in the middle, Danny.
Steve, what is your message to the guys about the untimely penalties, and what do you like about how y'all play on defense too?
Yeah, I mean, you know, again, I didn't see the play where we got the face mask on. You very rarely do you see face mask on a defensive player rushing the passer, so I have to look at that. You know, I think we had 6 penalties for 50 yards. They had 2 for 15. You know, the turnover margin, you know, continues to hold true. And when it relates to winning and losing football games, it was 1-0. And they took the one turnover we had and they turned it into points. So that was a 7-point swing right there. You know, the untimely penalties sometimes are unfortunate. And I'm sure there's some calls that they were saying should have been calls on us and some other ones. Just like I'm probably going to turn in plays too that I think might have been penalties that didn't get called. So that's part of football. I thought our guys played hard on defense. You know, again, they were trying to control the game on the ground. We were kind of trying to do the same thing. I think both sides were trying to, you know, be physical and keep the ball up inside. And for the most part, I thought we played really good. I thought, you know, Jack Baumeister was a tremendous weapon for us today of pinning them deep and something to look forward to down the road of the style of play that we can play with. So I was proud of the effort defensively. Thought we held Jeremiah in check as best we could, who's a fantastic player. But we got to score more points, you know, at the end of the day. If we can hold a team like that to 14, we got to find a way to score 15.
On your right, Dennis.
Coach, what was it seemed like Arch settled in as the game went
Yeah.
on. What was your basic assessment of him, and what do you think will be his biggest takeaway or two from this?
Yeah, I think you said you hit the nail on the head. I do think he settled into playing, you know. You know, I think part of it sometimes when he gets, you know, hit a couple times, it helps him. You know, he's one of those kind of guys, you know, and so I think we learned a little bit that way of maybe, you know, incorporating a little more of his run stuff earlier in the game where we waited a little bit into the second half. I think when that happened, I felt like he started really playing, and we saw some real flashes and glimpses of the type of player that he's going to become here. You know, he's going to watch the tape and say, "Man, I wish this, I wish that." That's the life of a competitor. But I think there's a lot to hold on to of what the future is going to look like for Arch Manning here. So we're excited about that.
Far left, Eric.
Steve, both you and Arch spoke during preseason camp about the offense taking some time to find its rhythm. Just curious, and obviously you're in the midst of the loss, so you don't have everything right now. But
Yeah.
what are 1 or
Yeah, I just think that, rhythm in the passing game was one of them today, and they've got an excellent secondary. If there's a strength on their team, granted the receivers are really good, but they've got an excellent secondary, and they've got a good scheme, and they've got a very smart secondary, and so they made Arch work. I thought at halftime, Arch having a chance to really sit and look at the tape and understand some of the coverages they were playing, I think that helped him into the second half and play. And so there's, we definitely can lean into that. And then ultimately, we had opportunities to score points, and we didn't. And so we got to keep digging into our ability to score when we have our opportunities to do so. And we got to make a couple throws, we got to make a couple catches, we got to make a couple better calls. But that's, like I said, those are things that are fixable for us, and I feel confident in that.
On the right, Jeff?
You said you learned about players and position groups today. What did you learn about your receivers after this game?
Well, I thought Parker Livingstone, was what I was expecting. He's had a great spring, a great camp, showed up today. So that was really encouraging. I thought we just had a couple missed opportunities with Ryan, but Ryan's going to be a great player for us, and we just couldn't get DeAndre into the flow of things. But I think Jack Endries is another really good player for us. Made a couple nice plays and was physical in the run game. From a receiver standpoint, I think we're going to be good. Like I said, that cohesiveness with Arch and those guys, I think, is only going to get better as we keep moving forward.
In the back middle, Kirk?
Steve, on the 4th and 9 play when you threw to Parker, was that the first option that you wanted Sark to do?
On the touchdown?
No, the one in the corner that was
Yes. No. That was we had kind of a man zone play on. We saw the pressure look, the man look. We changed the protection and got it blocked up. Ideally, the read really is Ryan and then Parker. And I thought Dre did a good job. It was a little bit of a rub route, but it happened a little late, and so Arch got off of it. And I thought he made a beautiful pass to Parker. Some might argue that he got held on it. I don't know. I couldn't quite see it. Our guys up top thought he did, but that was a good throw. It was a bang bang play, And so you get an isolation 1-on-1 with a rub route when you see man coverage. That's about as good as we can get right there.
the one right before the half, you knew not to go for it. You run it with 35 seconds.
Yeah, I just didn't want to give them that field position. It was a one-possession game. We were playing really good defense. I didn't want to give them free points. I didn't want to give them 3 points right there. I felt like if we could get in the locker room and regroup offensively, we'd play a better second half, and I thought we did.
Stay in the middle, Anwar?
Hey, Coach, on the goal line, stopped by them, what did you see that maybe happened that led to that? And another part of the question is, what are other encouraging things in the loss that you
Yeah. On the goal line situation, I felt like it was kind of an odd where the ball finished kind of almost inside the 1 yard line. It was like, okay, we've been really working hard on our sneak stuff, and we had ran one earlier, obviously, in the game, and I felt like, hey, we don't give them a chance to sub to real big people. We went with a sneak. I think they got under us pretty good and kind of took Arch's legs out from them. Hindsight's 20/20. If I could do it all over again, we probably sub, and they put their big guys and we put our big guys in and see if we can get in the end zone. One of the most encouraging things from today was our ability to run the football. And I thought Trey and Cedric both had really good games. I think they both averaged, just about 4, 5, 6 yards a carry, whatever it was. I thought our offensive line, who had so many question marks coming in, their ability to move people at the line of scrimmage. But the reality of it was we were playing with a long field, kind of a lot of the game. We never could create a turnover or get the ball where you had some advantageous field position. So we had to drive. There was drives that had to happen, and then we didn't finish those drives when we had chances too. But I was definitely encouraged with the offensive line and Trey, and then obviously Cedric. First game back after an entire year off, and the way that he played today was definitely encouraging.
Right middle, Thomas?
Sark, when you have a young quarterback, and Arch is a young quarterback, in an environment like this, how does that influence you as a play caller, especially early in the game?
Well, it wasn't just him being young. It was young on the offensive line with some new faces. It was a new receiver, new tight end, some people playing in this environment. You try to do the things that you think they do well. Especially with a new defensive coordinator, which we didn't have a bunch of information on of what they were going to do his past and what they had done from Ohio State. And I thought we did that. We were at that maybe a little anxious early in the ball game. But to their credit, I thought we settled down, and I think Brandon Baker might have had a couple false starts for a guy making his first career start for significant playing time in this environment. A little understandable. But at the end of the day, I think we learned a lot about ourselves that we can handle this environment. In some of the most critical moments, I thought we were playing football there all the way into the fourth quarter up until the end. And there's a ball here, a ball there that might change the total outcome of this game. So there's positives to that, too, that I felt like we grew in the environment. I don't feel like we were overwhelmed by the environment.
Stay in the middle.
Hi, Georgie Ruiz from TSC Sports. Like you said, you had a pretty young offense today, and we don't really have too much senior leaders. Or do you have any leaders in mind that you think can help this team kind of go forward and step up whenever, especially in this crazy environment?
Yeah, I felt like the demeanor of the offense was good. I thought Arch's poise and composure was really good in this game. I didn't feel like he got rattled. Like I said, I think I learned about him a little bit playing that I've got to let him go play. And so that'll help us. But he's going to be a really good leader. I feel like Cedric and Trey are both really good leaders. They played a lot of football for us up front. Jack will evolve into that. This was his first game with us, but he's a veteran player. And DeAndre and Ryan, too. So we got plenty of guys. And I thought Trevor Gooseby was really good today from a leadership standpoint. He and Cole Hudson and DJ. So we got plenty of people there. That's the least of my worries is that we don't have the leadership. We definitely have that. But we've got some other things we've got to improve upon.
And then, I'm so sorry. And then I know you said you practiced with the game noise. Do you think you prepared your boys for the game noise of today's game?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, I thought we did well. Yeah, we had a really odd. I think Wingo had a false start, which is really our receivers are watching the ball. I think he was kind of excited about the play call that we had up, and then we had two by basically a first-year starter right tackle at a couple different situations. And so, again, that's concern of the environment I'm actually really pleased with because I know some of the other environments that we're going to go to this fall that are going to be just like this or worse. And so the way that we did this the first time, first game, new center, new quarterback, all the things that we had, that was actually a little bit encouraging.
Let's keep it to one question, please. On the right, Chip.
Steve, how would you assess the O-line play, especially Stroh and Neto and left?
Yeah, from a distance, watching it live from the field level, it felt pretty good. I felt like Arch had good time in the pocket to throw it. I felt like we were moving the line of scrimmage. We were running the ball. We just didn't create explosive plays early in the game like we did in the second half of the game. But I thought from an offensive line perspective, we did a nice job. Probably the worst communication we had was on that fourth down at the very end, when we should have slid all the way to that free rusher, and we just had a lapse that didn't get all the way down the line to Brandon Baker. But all in all, I was pleased with those guys. We ran the football. I think we could have thrown it better than we did, but we didn't throw it. We didn't throw it the way we wanted to because of the O-line. I thought the O-line gave us ample protection and opportunity to throw the ball down the field.
In the middle, Brandon.
Yeah, I was just wondering, from a press box view, it just seemed like both defensive lines might be among the best in the sport. But what did you see on the field that really, I guess, probably frustrated both quarterbacks to where you kind of just, it was like one or two plays here that made a difference?
Yeah, again, I think that they have a very good secondary, and I thought their ability to disguise coverages in the first half was at an elite level. I wouldn't say a good level, an elite level. And I think that starts with, they got Caleb Downs. He's very savvy. He's very smart. They're able to hold coverages, and whether it was a two-deep shell, rolling to one high, playing two deep, the variations of cover two they played against us, they minimized the explosive plays. They stayed on top. And really that's what we did. We have a Michael Taff, Jelani McDonald. Those guys are savvy players, and we were able to do kind of both things there. I thought Manny Muhammad had a very good game for us. It's unfortunate, the one kind of shot they took on us, they made Carnell Tate makes a heck of a catch for a touchdown. But I thought both secondaries are good. Both fronts are good. These are two good teams, I wouldn't be surprised if we see them again, December, January down the road.
The back left, Cedric.
Hey, Steve, Arch settled in the second half. What was his demeanor at the half when you guys talked?
Thought he was really good. He and I sat together. and we went through some things. We kind of shifted his focus on how to recognize the coverages, because I felt like we had some tells a different way where he was struggling to kind of see some things early. And I thought he took that information and applied it in the second half. And that's encouraging that he was able to adjust at halftime to do those things. And so all in all, like the growth throughout the game for Arch was really encouraging for me. We're going to be fine. Like I said, we got work to do as a team and as an offense. But ultimately, like I'm getting on the plane knowing we're going to be a good football team. And so, hey, we didn't win tonight. That's the life of a competitor. We went for it in a tough place against a good team. But we'll get back on the horse and we'll play good football this season.
The back left, CJ?
Heather's hiding behind this pillar. You can't see her back
Go
there.
ahead, Heather.
Yeah.
Sneaky.
As far as the outside expectations, I mean, they're borderline unprecedented. for
Right.
Arch coming into this game. Your expectations for him, did he meet them?
I mean, sure. I always want him to play better. That's a job of a coach, right? And our job is to try to find ways for all of our guys to play better. And so for Arch, the expectations were out of control on the outside. But I'd say let's finish the book before we judge it, right? This is one chapter, and we got a long season to go play.
Got two last ones on the left, CJ?
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned, bringing all your freshman class up to Columbus. You got to see a couple of them in lifetime today. Grayson, Galen, just a couple of these guys. I know it's early, you haven't watched the tape, but any initial immediate reactions from them?
Kind of hard to tell. I thought Dalen showed up and had to make a tough catch there and then win the one drive. I thought Grayson makes a heck of a play on third down, a tackle, I think, on their sidelines. I know there was a few of those guys on special teams as well. So we'll look at the tape. But I just think it's important. We're going to be in these environments this season. Those guys are going to continue to develop, and a lot of these guys that didn't play today are going to be playing for us a month, 2 months, 3 months from now. And so I needed to expose them to this. I needed to expose them to the level of intensity in games like this. Now, hopefully, we can get some opportunities to get them on the field here over the next few weeks. But I needed them to see and feel what this was like. I needed them to see and feel how the veterans on the team prepared and their mentality going into a game like this, because it's a long season and it's going to be a physical grind in the SEC. And so just because a guy might not be a 1 or a 2 on the depth chart today doesn't mean he won't be one in a month, 2, 3 months down the road.
Up front, you have one?
Yeah. Steve, you said you learned some things about Arch that you may plan differently in the future as far as seeing him get hit. Was there a reason why you approached it with the plan that you did today going into this?
I just felt like, hey, I was going to try to do some things that I felt like he was really comfortable with in practice, with the unknowing of how they were going to play us, and what they were going to do. And so I don't feel bad necessarily about the plan. Like I said, I think I probably would have incorporated him running the ball more earlier in the game, and maybe that would have settled him down more. But I think the things we had up, we felt good about. I think there's probably some throws in the first half if he could have back. All right, if we call those same things in the second half, he probably makes a couple of those throws, and that may change some things there too. But that was expectable, But like I said, you go in, you try to put your players in position to have some success. We didn't have as much as we would have liked, especially in the first half. But I think we're learning a little better formula for him, which in turn is better for our offense and ultimately better for the team.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
All right, y'all. Thank you.
Hang
Safe
tight,
travels.
Everybody, we'll bring some players up in